we go.
Yay! I couldn't
Yay.
figure it out. It wouldn't work on the computer.
Oh, darn. Maybe I'm wrong, but I swear you I don't know. I've never done it, so I couldn't really give you any tips.
There was a button, but it just didn't work. So whatever.
Oh. Well, this was just meant to be this way then. You're so light. It's so bright in that room. You're usually like in a darker room, or is it a different time of day usually?
It's because I'm on the phone versus the computer.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, it's good to see you. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good. Everything's good. Yeah.
Cool.
I just finished the class.
Cool. What class?
Teaching people how to manipulate energy.
Okay. Are we talking like physical, like kinesthetic, like physical energy, or like moving objects and stuff?
Self-protection and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. I love it. Well, in case anyone's wondering, Honey C. Golden is the person who I found on YouTube, where I got a lot of the confirmations and a lot of new information about the dome and the matrix, the Tartarians, the new Earth. So this is Honey. So this is the person that I've been talking about on my videos the last week or two. So go follow her. She's newly building her TikTok. She's got a lot more of a presence on YouTube at the moment, but feel free to follow her on YouTube too. That's where I've been watching all her stuff. So I mean, there's a lot of great content there. Okay, cool. So today, this is gonna be like a chat / interview, because I do have a lot of questions for you, more questions, even though I'm like, sorry, I know I just pounded you with questions in our last chat, but we got more. So you can see the chat, right? You can see this OKT person. You can see that? Okay. OKT. Okay, so basically that means they're not following you yet. So go follow Honeybee Me if you're not following them yet, so that they can see your comments and stuff, okay? Cool.
Yeah, I don't see any chat stuff at all, but yeah.
Do you have anything you want to start off with? Or
not really.
You want me to just...
No, you go for it. I figured this is you know what you're doing on this platform, so I'll just follow you.
Cool. Okay, cool. So I'm very excited. Hey, what's up? Hey, okay, good to see you. Good to see you. So yeah, I'm going to be intermittently probably just like looking at the chat, reading the chat, responding to people. But most of the questions, I have a lot of questions already from people that were asking them on the videos. But then I've told people they can ask questions live in the chat too. So I'll try to fit as many of those in as possible. So if I don't get to your question right away in the chat, just, you can always send it again if you think I missed it. Okay. So first thing I want to talk about is I had this thought, I believe it was yesterday, where I was like, wait, okay, so if consciousness is what's cracking and breaking the dome, right? Is there any feedback, or is the sound good?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I think there's
no feedback.
There's a delay because I can hear myself echo. Anyways, but it's fine. As long as you can hear it, fine, we're good. So you know how consciousness is what's like cracking and breaking the dome, right? Part of it. And I'm like, what if we all just started sending our energy and light to the dome to break it with the intention of breaking it?
We've been doing that. Yeah, we've been doing.
I'm like, wait, what? Like, what? Yeah. Okay, so you've been doing that. Have you noticed anything, or?
So there's a young person. I have a private chat on Telegram, and there's a young person in there because his mom's in there, and he saw a planet yesterday. And as soon as he saw it, and then he was yelling, "Get your phone, we need a camera," and all that kind of stuff. A cloud went over the top of it. But he said it was 3 times the size of the moon.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Yep. That tracks. Yeah. I've been like waiting for someone to say they've seen a planet. I've been looking every day, of course. Sorry, there's feedback, Brittany. Yeah. I don't know. There's nothing we can really do about that, you know? I mean, I've got my crystals here trying to clear up the connection. I don't know. We'll just have to deal with it. So that was one of the questions from someone, actually. They were asking if the cloud seeding is trying to cover up, like glitches in the dome, or even like UFOs and stuff. So
all of it.
Check that off. Where was that he saw the planet? What state are you in?
He was in Finland.
Finland?
Yep, Finland.
Okay, cool. Finland. I swear over there in that area, like that Europe area, they always get to see stuff first.
I think they're on the edge. Like they're on the edge of the ice wall.
Oh,
kind of. So I think that's why.
Evil Purpose of the Dome, Mary Eastman. Yes, the Wandering Messenger. There's a TikTok filter that actually shows the planets in the sky, and it looks pretty similar to what we're going to be seeing. Mary Eastman's asking about the evil purpose of the dome. Trap our energies, trap us. Yeah. The dome wasn't originally evil, though, right?
No. It was intended to keep the evil contained.
Right.
Because this was the evil place to begin with.
Right. So the dome itself was a protective measure to condense
for all the people outside of it. Yeah.
Right. Which makes sense, which is why it was. And let's talk a little bit about the sun really briefly. I know you mentioned that. So basically people are like, well, why would they make, I've had people questioning, like, why would they make the sun in a way that would burn us? Are they just trying to kill us? And it was like, my thoughts were, it was the best they could do at the time, right? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what it was. And now that the small yellow sun, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the small yellow sun is now overtaken by this big white sun. So the white sun is a reflection of the real sun. So every once in a while you'll see two suns, but that's the big white sun and the small yellow sun. The small yellow sun was our first sun.
Source didn't care for the dome trick, huh? That's what Mary says. Yeah. Well, Source allowed it for a little while, but
yeah, they're done with it.
So Rebecca says, so we signed up to neutralize it. Yes, right? That's why all of us decided to, instead of going to the fun part of Earth where it's beautiful, we're like, you know what? We got to help. There's the part of Earth that's wounded and needs healing, and we're going to go there.
Exactly. Because there aren't any really fifth or sixth dimension or density beings outside the dome. It's all fourth density positive and below.
Right. Which is so cool. So really quick, back to the sending light to the dome. I would love, do you have like scheduled group meditations for that? Or should we do that? Should we start that?
I do have a meditation. I have a meditation on my channel. I don't like to do like group meditations because then everybody gets to be either too bright.
Okay.
And then you get attacked. But I do have a meditation that has a tree on it. So I think it was 2 weeks ago that I put it up.
Okay.
So it's a beach with a tree and a blue sky behind it.
Cool. So yeah, if you guys want to do a meditation that was going to send light to the dome to help bring the dome down faster, you can find that on her YouTube. When do they expect the dome to come down? Sometime before March, correct?
I do think so. I think it's getting closer and closer because the energy is getting higher and higher. So basically it's our consciousness is what's breaking the dome.
Right. Yeah. I think anyone who's watching, like, you all can tune in and you can feel it. Like, if you want to, you can kind of tune in and feel how, like, ask your higher self, you know, how close are we to the dome coming down? See what your higher self says. You know, it'd be interesting to see. We all get similar answers.
Yeah, it feels pretty soon to me.
It feels pretty soon to me too. It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. Honestly, like, glitter in the tummy, like, ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, what should we look? Oh, somebody was asking about seasons outside of the dome.
No seasons. So it's like you're in a terrarium out there. So basically you have the mist rise in the morning. So it's like 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It rises in the morning and then it turns into kind of a cloudy thing and then goes all the way up to the top and then comes back down. So our temperature is going to be like 50 is going to be the low and 70 to 75 is going to be the high. So if you want to experience a different kind of like environment, you have to go to the beach, you have to go to the mountains, you have to travel to experience a different kind of, a season, as you would call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it still going to rain?
It'll feel like a soft little misty rain as the mist rises in the morning. So if you've ever seen a terrarium, it's basically like a closed environment. And you only have to water it once, and a plant will continue to grow inside of a terrarium because it's basically like a bottle with a cork on it.
It's recycling its water.
Yeah.
With the environment, basically.
Exactly. So the only place that we're having weird, like extreme weather is inside the dome.
And that's because
it's controlled.
Right.
And it was also to create chaos for the humans.
Right.
Because it's like a rainforest, beautiful thing out there. Kind of like Pacific Northwest weather, I would say.
Well, that's where I was raised, so I guess that's going to feel familiar.
Yeah.
Someone's asking what exactly is a crystalline body?
So the crystalline body, so the carbon-based body is what we have now, and it's moving into a crystalline-based body. So think of it as the carbon versus a diamond. So basically, we're going to contain more light, we're going to be more reflective, and we're going to be stronger as well. So we're not going to get sick all the time, and a lot of our memories will come back. So we're going to have kind of like superpowers.
Yeah,
but it will kind of like be resolved.
I thought of this analogy today. We're kind of like the superheroes in the movie where, like Harry Potter, where he does stuff before he knows how, and he has all these weird magic things happen, but it's like chaotic and he's not able to control it. We're like, now we know that we have superpowers, so it's like after Harry Potter's been told, like, hey, you're a wizard, and we're like, oh, we're wizards? And now we're like, oh, cool, now we get to use the gifts on purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll know what we're doing, and we'll have memories that we can access, like of all of our lifetimes. So I always see it as a tube. So you have like this tube of light that surrounds your body, and you'll be able to actually like pluck memories and learn new things, but you won't be shown anything if you can't handle it.
Got it. Oh, someone says they thought the firmament was the dome. No, the firmament and the dome are separate. That is why when the people were really scared when I said the dome was coming down, they're like, we're going to drown, we're going to die. And I'm like, no. It's a different thing.
Yeah. So the firmament is outside the dome. That's what covers the rest of the top of the planet.
So Tia says, how old is the dome?
1,000 years.
Someone else was asking me, does that mean that the Jesus times happened more recently than we actually think?
I guess it's about 530 some odd years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think my parents... I have this feeling that my parents came during that time and then got stuck here.
Yeah, that's very possible.
I feel like a lot of the Christians, that's why they're so attached to Christianity, because they subconsciously have that memory of being with Jesus and knowing he's real. So that's why they defend it. Like, no, Jesus is real. This is real. Because they really do remember, but they're also confused and they're being told the wrong, you know what I mean? Some of the details are not.
Yeah. That's part of it. Also, they were in war after war, and they use religion to create wars. So basically, oh, you're not this religion, so we're going to go and kill all of your people so that you can then be our religion.
Right.
So that was another thing they used for war. Yeah, was religion.
Yeah, that's why I posted a video recently that said religion is evil, and people freaked out. And I'm like, well, it was created to divide us. It was not created to really be helpful and unite people, you know?
Right. And it's, if you think about, if you break the word down, it's re-legion. And a legion is a group of troops.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh, I never broke it down like that. A legion, like legions of demons.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, someone
It's a little
says
crazy.
we talk about our historic timeline and how it's different from the timeline that we were taught.
So basically, we were in ancient Rome, kind of before I get 1796 is when the Greys took over the dome. So when they did that, if you guys know about Tartaria at all, that's when the mud flood occurred.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had created all of these humans underground and they brought them up to repopulate the planet. So if you go and you look at things like the fairs, the world fairs, you can see they had, and I don't know how careful I have to be on this.
Not too careful.
Okay. So they had incubator babies at these world fairs. So they were creating children. So there was all these orphans, they had orphan trains and all kinds of different things going on. And they were repopulating the planet. And that's why there were all these beautiful buildings, because they came from the Tartarian culture, which was also ancient Rome. And that's what was there before the dome went up. So once that happened, they were just repopulating because they had killed off so many people with the mud flood. And the mud flood I got was a frequency. So they screwed up the frequency in the dome, the Greys did, and they created what's called liquefaction. So all the buildings sank.
When
and
was
a lot
that?
of people died. That was right around 1796 after they took over. So it was shortly after, like maybe a year or two.
Mm.
Yeah, so they went underground. So they went underground to start creating human beings. And by 1850, I got that was when we were repopulated. But they talk about
So what? I'm like, wait, what's a world fair? I don't even know. Is that just like a giant fair?
Yeah, so they had these huge fairs, the world fairs, and they were in the late 1800s and in the very early 1900s. And they were showing electric cars, electricity, all kinds of things that nobody thought really existed. But that was the end of the Tartarian culture. So basically, they were saying goodbye to the Tartarian culture, and they had huge, like, beautiful marble buildings. And they told everybody that they were temporary buildings, but they were made out of huge blocks of stone. And then after that happened, they destroyed them all.
Wow.
So the whole Tartarian, it's an intense thing that happened. But so history is completely skewed. The timeline is all messed up. But basically, Jesus came before the mud flood actually happened.
Okay. Wow. So interesting. Like, I feel like so and then the Great Reset. Is that related to the mud flood?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. So that was a great reset, and that's what they tried to do with the illness that's going on in the world right now. That was another reset that they had planned.
Yeah.
So if you read the book 1984, it tells you what they were planning. But so the thing is the elites they have plans that last for like a whole century. They're like, okay, so we're going to do this. and we're going to do all this stuff, and the humans don't live long enough in order to remember what we're doing. So we'll just kill them off again, and we'll start over. We'll reset.
Wow. That is crazy. Someone says, was the destruction of Pompeii part of the reset?
Yes, I get yes.
Yes. Wow. Wow. I didn't even know. I never had, these terms are new to me, like the Great Reset. But I mean, it makes sense. I knew immediately when COVID got released, and I knew nothing about any of this stuff. But I knew. I'm like, oh, this is population control. Like, this is literally population control. Like, I didn't have to, you know, I didn't even have to ask. I just knew. I was like, gosh, here we go.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They had plans to have 500 million people left, and that was it. Now their plans are not working out, so you know, don't be extremely stressed out about it.
Right.
But a lot of people will decide they don't want to be here, but it is nothing to do with their plans.
Right. And that's another thing someone was asking about, like, when the dome comes down, is climate change going to just kind of go away? Or, like, you know, yeah. And that's what I'm like, that's what I said too. Yeah.
My higher self said after the dome comes down, they can't do weather control anymore. They may try to do a little bit more moisture, because there's some places like the deserts don't exist outside the dome.
Right.
So they may try to do a little, like they have cloud machines, and they have HAARP, HAARP. So that's how they've been controlling the weather. You can see this in a lot of movies and stuff. But as soon as the dome goes, then gradually we're going to get the weather that the rest of the dome is having.
Or the rest of
But it may take a little while for some of the deserts, and, you know, like even in Colorado, we live in a high mountain desert, basically.
Oh, I didn't even know deserts existed in the mountains.
Yeah, I mean, it's just dry. It's not like there's no water, but it's drier than you would experience in a lot of other places. So plant life is going to be abundant in the future.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that would make sense if it's like really moist all the time and the sun is not engineered improperly. It's like the real sun. Yeah.
Food everywhere. Going down the street and plucking your lunch as you go, you know, that's going to happen.
So cool. Someone else was asking about government, how that's going to change. Okay, so actually let's go to, in between that question. So someone said in the chat a minute ago, they were like, so what about, I don't know if it was in the chat or anyway, someone asked at some point, they were like, what about the people who are afraid when the dome comes down and like we can see the planets and like we become aware of the Tartarians and people know they're real and all that? What about the people who become afraid and want to like wage war on the Tartarians?
I think we're going to have a big shock before that. And there's going to be a lot of information that comes out. And I also got that the most normal to us looking people will come in first from Tartaria. So basically, there's human beings out there as well, but they'll come in first to introduce themselves, to talk about what's going on. A lot of people are going to be in shock, but most of the people that are in complete shock and awe are the people that won't be staying. So if they can't contain themselves in their fear is not going forward, really.
So are those the ones that are going to be in the hologram and live the lower timelines out?
Only if they're service to self. So if they're like a narcissist, yes. But if they're just young soul, they're going to go back to source and then go to another 3D experience.
So you're like, in a nice way, saying people are going to be zapped. They're going to be joink, gone, bye.
A lot of people, we will see there will be some bodies. left
Okay.
behind. Yeah.
So it is going to be like the you know the what's it called, the rapture.
Yeah. So for some people, it's the rapture. And then for other people, we're staying here with Earth to continue to rehab Earth and to create a whole new society. And then some people will say, I'm going to leave on a spaceship, because that's what they came here for. And I know one guy, he said, okay, I'm going to do my job and then I'm leaving. So basically, I'll be here for maybe 5 years and then I'm done and I'm going.
Wow.
So it just depends on you, really.
The rapture. This is why I've been saying there's truth to every story. There's truth to every story because, like,
Exactly.
wow, that's crazy.
Yes.
That's just crazy. I'm like, wait, what? And then you told me the other day, you said the people, and then someone asked me this too. They're like, what about the in-between people that are like kind of awake, but they're not,
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're awake or not. What matters is, are you 51% service to others or 51% service to self?
mm,
So if you're 51% service to self, you're not going to be here on Earth as she ascends. So Earth is ascending right now. She's in fourth density now.
right. She is, right? And so then all the people that don't match with that, they don't resonate, they don't vibrate at that same level anymore. So they literally cannot incarnate here or can't be incarnated here.
Right. So I don't know if you've noticed it, but the people that are they're almost like they're vibrating. Like you go and you meet someone and they're just like this. It's because they cannot handle the frequency.
Huh.
You know.
Anna's asking if the Lionsgate portal, which is just happening now, if that's affecting anything.
It is, and there's we're going to talk about it tomorrow in Hidden History, but there's also the planets are aligned right now. So that's another thing. What's that called? The precession of the equinoxes. We're in the middle of that as well. So we're in a cycle, like we're in an actual cycle that happens every 75,000 years.
Okay, and that is what? What's the cycle?
So the cycle is ascension. So basically, so every 25,000 years, the Earth has been resetting herself. So that's when, like, I don't know if you guys have heard of Pangea, but all the continents used to be one continent, at least the ones we know about. Yeah. So Pangea like broke apart, and then all of a sudden there's other continents. There's a bunch of them, but they all came from one. So the Earth resets itself naturally every 25,000 years.
Okay. I didn't know that, but it makes sense. I mean, it definitely makes sense, but I didn't know that.
Yeah. And the reason that we're not like going into a huge natural disaster and like the flood of Noah kind of thing is because the consciousness has risen high enough that we've avoided it.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I've been trying to tell people is like, hey, great job, everyone. Like, great job. Enough of us are like hopping on the train that we're going to like the highest timeline. The golden timeline is what you call it, right?
The golden age timeline. Yeah.
Golden age timeline. Is that something you coined or something you've read about?
No, I read about that years ago. So everybody's like, oh, we're going to go into the golden age, So basically it means money eventually will not matter anymore. Everybody will have what they need. We won't be focused on the nonsense of the regular like work day and all the stuff that we're doing now. That does not exist in the golden age.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so then now let's go to the government thing. I know I've seen it on some of your videos already, but it's going to be, you said, like community guided kind of?
Yeah, so the government will fall, and that'll probably happen very soon, like in this year. the government will fall, everybody will be exposed for who they are. And a lot of them have been very bad. So a lot of them are in jail right now, which is kind of hard to like fathom. But a lot of them are in jail, and there's an actor with one of those rubber masks over their face.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not really there anymore. So we're watching kind of like a movie. So what's going to happen as it collapses, I always get that government and medicine, modern medicine, will collapse virtually at the same time.
Mm.
And then after that, it will be the school system. And then after that, it will be the religious system.
Yeah, religion will be the last thing to go. Yep.
Well,
yeah.
Because it's going to be the hardest thing, actually, for people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because people's whole identity is wrapped up in their religion. And so it's like, if I'm not a Christian, if I'm not this, if I'm not that, then what am I, right?
Yeah.
Wow. And that, I'm excited. I know then before next March is the whole solar flash kind of like deadline, but I think it's going to happen in this year, right? Like that's what you're feeling, right?
Yeah. So, well, I think the flash will still happen in March, but if the dome is down, then we're going to get so many more light codes in. We're going to be actually like upgraded before the flash ever happens.
Right. Yeah. So then we would like minimize the damage done by the flash, basically.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. And the flash is not going to damage. Like this is light codes coming in a very intense way, but it's not going to be burning buildings or like, it's nothing like that. It's just basically all this intense frequency coming at people. So and if their bodies can't handle it, it's going to be a lot.
So it's going to affect anything with an electromagnetic field, basically.
Well, I got it would affect to a certain, like, I don't know, depth, I guess you'd say. So like if there's satellites, they're going to fry. But a lot of the stuff here on the ground will actually be okay, is what I got. And then, but the people, like if you have somebody and their crystalline body is not formed, let's say they're at 70%, I'm always like telling everybody, okay, you're at this percent or that percent.
Yeah.
So if you're at 70% and those light codes come down on you, then you're going to go to sleep.
Right.
But if you haven't been upgrading at all, like maybe your destiny was to not be here and you're at basically like 0, you're not going to stay because the frequency will be overwhelming to your body.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, it makes me think about my family. I'm like going through my parents, my brothers. I'm like, I wonder where their light bodies are at. I think honestly that's part of the reason why I detached so intensely from my family over the last few years, because I don't think they're gonna make it. I don't think they are. I don't know.
They might surprise you.
Yeah, maybe.
I
think that if they saw the sky, like when the dome comes down, I think they have the potential to have that change of heart and to be like, whoa. Because my dad, he believes in aliens and stuff, but he doesn't like. But he's also Christian. He's very, he has a lot of conflicting beliefs, and he doesn't know how to reconcile those. So I'm just like, man, it's just interesting to think about.
Probably the good thing about being in a religion is they're mostly service to others. So a lot of them will make it through just because of that.
Right.
Unless they're serving others just to look good to go to heaven.
Right. Exactly.
It really depends on where they're at. But if they're truly in service to others, then they're going to go. They're going to make it through this whole thing. Otherwise, they will go and be raptured and go to another 3D experience.
Yeah, be raptured. I feel like they're all going to just be raptured, except maybe my brother that's not religious anymore. He might stay. He's evolved a lot. It's been crazy to see, like, when you're not really close to someone, but then you see them maybe every 6 months or once a year or something, and then you're like, oh, wow, you actually have changed. You've actually evolved,
Yeah.
But the thing is like we can't put pressure on people because that's not gonna help. So sometimes that's why it's just the best thing to do is just kind of, if they be open about who you are and what you believe, right? And if someone wants to know more, they can come to you and they can ask.
Right. It actually pauses their growth. So if you're pressuring, and then they're not learning because they rebel against you.
Right.
So then you're making it harder for them to learn their lesson. Yeah.
That's exactly how I viewed it too, which is why I just stepped all the way back, and I'm like, I'm going to be on social media. Here's my TikTok if you ever want to watch, but I'm not ever going to talk about it again, you know? So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, some people come here not to wake up, somebody says, yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to know, let's switch topics a tiny bit. I kind of want to know, or I want other people to know too, like more about your specific mission here. Like what do you do and what are you here to do?
Well, I'm here really to show people the beauty of what's about to come. So, and I am a healer. Like I help people heal their bodies, heal their mind. I do those things. But my main mission is to be a voice for the beauty of what's about to show up. So that people kind of see like, oh, there is something on the other side that's going to be better.
Right.
So, and I've been told that more than once, and I didn't want anything to do with it because I don't want to be on social media. But, it was like, there's no way I'm not going to be on it because my higher self was like, get on YouTube. So.
I love it. I'm so glad that you listened, because you've just been able to like share so much information with people that they wouldn't have had access to otherwise, because even if some of the information you're sharing other people have discovered before, it doesn't matter. The people that are hearing it from you, they've never heard it before, so to them it's brand new information.
Right. Well, I'm really trying to like ask my higher self in a way that puts it together so it's easy to understand, because so much of it is I just investigate flat earth, or I just investigate inner earth, or I just investigate, this one thing. And then that person has to go, that doesn't know what's going on, has to go and look at all of it and try and put it together.
Right.
But I'm just trying to bring it all together in one spot. So it's not so hard.
You have definitely done that. And I myself appreciate it. And I know that other people do as well. Did you have any questions? You want me to keep going?
You can go. You can keep going. I get a drink of water.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Everything is going to be so much brighter and more beautiful than we really can imagine. So that's the thing, is just imagine your best, most amazing day, and it's going to evolve into that.
Right.
Yeah.
And finally, I'll be able to go out in the bright sunlight and not have to go like this. I don't know about like what color your eyes are, but I know the lighter your eyes are, it's like really hard to, like I'm always squinting, and I don't want to wear sunglasses because as we've discovered, the sunglasses like block our body's ability to actually defend itself from the sun. So
right.
Yeah,
and excited. Also blocking the light codes. So we're going to see. So right now we see 1% of the light spectrum. We're going to see between 5 and 10%.
So cool.
So yeah, it's going to be like a psychedelic trip. Like as you walk outside, you're going to see glowing plants, and everything's going to be a lot different than what we experience now.
Speaking of that, I think it's important that people know, especially if you're waking up and you're trying to speed up the process. I'm not going to say you should do anything, but if you were curious, there are a lot of benefits to small doses of psychedelic mushrooms. There's a lot of benefits. So if that's something that like you needed confirmation for, boom, here's your confirmation.
Yeah. Microdosing. It's much safer too than going for it with like a whole Like, oh, let's go do a crazy trip. It's just not like right now. There's so many entities flying around and so much stuff flying around. It's not the best idea to just be totally unaware of what you're doing. But microdosing is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I
Someone
don't
says, how much is micro? Someone says, how much is micro? So I'll tell you, for me, micro is like maybe like this much, like half of a pinky. I don't know. That's how, for me, that's micro.
I
Like,
think you can actually buy it that way in microdosing.
yeah,
Yeah, now.
yeah, you don't even have to eat the actual mushrooms. They make chocolates and like all sorts of things so
Yeah.
that you can control the dosage a lot better. I've never tried it that way, but I probably should.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody just trying it, that might be the best way to go. And you can just Google it. There it is.
Yeah, totally. Capsules. Yeah, there's capsules, coffees, teas. Yeah, totally. Um, so that was fun. I didn't know that. That was not on my list, but I'm glad we talked about that. Oh, so back to the governments of New Earth. We didn't really go into that.
hmm So I've been getting that. So every little community, so we're not going to have these huge cities anymore. They'll be a little more manageable, but every community is going to have a council. And if you don't like your council member, you can take them off. Like it's not a huge deal like it is now. Like you're not elected and you're stuck with them for 4 years or whatever. So basically, I always get it's a council of, I think it's a council of 9, but then there's 12 councils. And this is the larger version of government. And then there'll be ambassadors of basically Earth. So there will be 2 or 3 ambassadors. I can't remember. I did a whole show on it. I think it's 3. But
So they're the ones that. Sorry, go ahead.
they'll be the ones that are in contact with the ETs.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So so it's going to be kind of just like a trickle down system, kind of similar to how we have now, but like
So much smaller.
so much smaller.
Yeah.
And less about rules, it feels to me. Like less about rules.
No rules, except, the universal laws. That's it. So universal laws coincide very well with common law. So you might want to look up common law. So like don't hurt someone, don't steal from someone, do unto others as you would wish to have done unto you kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody runs around and punches someone in the face or something, then they're going to get put in front of the council. And the council of that little community will rehab them. So they'll have to pay, go and help that other person or do something nice for that other person. They'll have to go through a whole process of this is why we don't act like that.
And I'm just now sensing that there's going to be actually like medical exams and things like, hey, what's going on? Because that kind of behavior in this new Earth is going to be, if that happens, it'll usually be because there's something wrong or a tweak or something just needs to be adjusted, or you know what I mean? Because it's like,
maybe they ate a plant that actually made them go kind of nuts for an hour,
right.
Who knows? But they'll figure out what actually happened. And
Right.
it won't be this ridiculous system that we have now.
Right. It'll be like, hey, let's get you. Yeah.
That's maritime law. We're in maritime law right now.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. I don't think anyone has any more questions on the government stuff. So let's see. We talked about your mission, the golden timeline. Is there anything that sticks out to you that the collective needs to know right now?
Just work on yourself. Work on your own consciousness. Let go of your baggage. So let's say you came into this planet and you were born and you made it here. Work on forgiving yourself for coming and realizing that you came for a reason and letting go of all the baggage that's in between. Baggage is what holds us back.
Right.
So it's like your limiting beliefs, all that stuff. And it can't go with us into the new age. So it's being pushed to the surface for a lot of people. So pay attention to your triggers. Like if something irritates you, ask yourself, why does that irritate me so much? Why do I care? You know?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I talk about that too, about how shadow work is really just like a mindfulness practice. Like you don't have to really set aside time to do it. It's just about being present and mindful each moment and dealing with whatever comes up. One thing at a time, so it doesn't all just get piled up.
Exactly.
Someone wants to know about Bashar. Do you know who Bashar is?
Vaguely. He's a guru. I know that. I think he's on YouTube.
He's a channeler. He channels a consciousness and he answers questions. But anyway, the person's just wondering if he's legit or not. I think he's pretty legit from what I've seen of him.
I mean, I get that as well.
Yeah. And then what about Dolores Cannon? Are you familiar with Dolores Cannon's work at all? And do you support her work?
Yeah, I really love her. Now, I don't think she had absolutely right, but she had almost all of it right. Like, there's very few things that she's missing, and she was basically gathering information from her hypnotism, you know, what do you call them, sessions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same about her as well. Like, there were some things that she was like not seeing the full picture on, but she laid the groundwork though for so many people, and now we just get to expand on like what she did, what she discovered. Okay. Okay, so the last couple of things, and you're good to go till like 11:30, right? Okay.
Yep.
So I want to talk a little bit about the Tartarians' views. Someone was asking about how the Tartarians feel about like body positivity and modesty.
I get they're fairly modest, and they love themselves. Like they've been raised to actually love who they are. So they're not worried about like what does my body look like. They're just having fun.
So do you pick up anything about like nudity? Is nudity allowed, or is that something that would be frowned upon?
I get it's very unusual, like to walk down the street naked. But let's see. They're very into their clothing. Like it's like a statement. They're very into fashion. I think that if you were like in a hot springs or something, they wouldn't care if you were naked. Like that part wouldn't matter. But they have a similar idea of, you don't walk down the street just nude. Like it doesn't appeal to them to be doing that. I don't get that you'd be arrested, but I get that they'd be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? So, but their clothing is much more structured and fancy than ours.
Okay.
So they love to eat really good food, and they love clothes, and because everything is covered, like they don't have to worry about money. There's nothing that they're really lacking. So their creativity is really what they're after all the time. So they're creating all these wild outfits.
Right. Do they use stimulants? Any sort of stimulants like alcohol or anything like that?
I get that they still drink a little bit of alcohol and maybe ceremonial stimulants,
Okay.
or altering, but it's not a regular practice because they're happy.
Right. Yeah. So you don't feel the need for it. Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense. So it's interesting because we're basically talking about the Atlanteans that evolved, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's who the Tartarians are. I know there's a lot of new people on here in the chat. The Tartarians are the Atlanteans that don't live under the dome, and they got to evolve naturally.
Yeah, because they're always worrying with each other. So the the ones that were kind of bad, because they were polarized. So you had a bad group and a good group. And the good group got to stay outside the dome, and the bad group got stuck in the dome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, the Atlanteans. So,
Yeah.
So what about LGBTQ plus?
Like, does that exist out there?
Yeah.
No. They're all very happy with the body that they chose. Like, they realize that they chose their body.
No, I mean, like, are there romantic relationships between women and women and men and men?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That doesn't matter. So I will say something about that just to help everybody. So I investigated that for somebody who's really stressed out about it. And basically, we are different sexes throughout our lifetimes, right? So a lot of times when we come in as one sex, we may have been the other sex the last time. So like maybe last time I was a man, right? And then I'm in this lifetime and I'm like, this doesn't feel normal, to me. So then your higher self might even still be male. Maybe they didn't switch, right? They're still, so your feelings, because you chose to be attracted to the same sex, and it's completely fine. That doesn't matter at all. It's the body dysmorphia, I think, that does not exist out there, because they're taught whatever you were born with is beautiful.
Right. And that's what you chose. And I think that's what it goes back to is they understand that they chose what they were born with. And so they're just like, cool, I can love who I want to love and dress how I want to dress. It doesn't matter what genitalia that I have. And I think they also, it feels like they also see it more as like, ooh, this is more fun. This is a fun experiment. Like, even if this feels weird, this is a fun experiment. And I know that when I come back next time or whatever, I can always choose different.
Exactly. Because you have thousands of lifetimes. So I could talk about the densities if you want. That might help.
Yeah.
So in the second density, the only being that's really walking around that would be similar to a human is Sasquatch. So those sightings that you see, like that are all blurry or whatever. So that's somebody that has come through a portal to third density. And Sasquatches love, or Bigfoot, they love the food here. So they really like it. And they also like that they can move faster, because in second density, it's like they're sloth-like. They move very slow. Yeah. But then once you get into third density, that's where the beginning of humanity is. So some of these souls are really, really young, and some of them are pretty old, but third density is about 100,000 years. So you're going to have that many lifetimes in the third density. So if you only live to be 60 years old, think about how many lifetimes you're going to have.
Yeah.
Fourth density is about 500,000 years. Fifth density is 1 million years. And I get sixth density is about 3 million years.
Wow.
So by the time you get to seventh density, you're really not having a body anymore. Like, you're kind of done with that. You're like, I've had umpteen millions of lifetimes, like, who cares? I'm going to just be in my light body, and that's it.
So you see it as an evolution. Do you think we can go in and out of that, or do we have to go from the lowest density to the highest density?
So we can go backwards, just like we did. Okay, so I'm sixth density, you're sixth density. We came down into third density to assist, but a third density person cannot go into a sixth density. So you can go backwards and re-experience what you've already experienced, but you can't go forwards like that. It would like kill you. You couldn't handle it.
So do you think that So do you think that consciousness, so each soul, when each soul is born, do you think it splits from source I've always seen it as splitting from source, starting in a higher dimension, and then working its way down. But you're saying the opposite.
What I received is I was like inside of source. So I got to see when I picked this lifetime. So I was like floating around in the sun. It kind of looks like the sun. So I was floating around in the sun. I went to a room. I had a friend with me. So we're just these little light bodies, like in that movie Cocoon. We floated through, and then we stood next to the edge of source and picked our lifetime. So we picked to come back.
Right.
But I do think that, you start out like as a lower density and move up.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I was talking to Gaia the other day, Mother Gaia, and she was saying that I've been a planetary body before. And I was like, oh, I've been a planet. That sounds right. And she's like, most of you have been, silly. She's like, it's a lower, you start out as a lower density, as like a planet, a celestial body sometimes, before you take on like, a plant body or.
So second density, so first density is mostly like air and fire kind of thing, right? And then you form into like a rock, second density. And that's where the Sasquatch lives. So you have this like rock, right? And you form into this rock, and everything's really slow. So I don't talk about second density very often just because it's very long and it's very slow. And then you go into third density and you're a being moving around and you're going faster and faster, basically. So I'm trying to explain that. Like, ask me another question. Let's see if we can define it.
So I've imagined that as far as like being a rock and how it does move slowly. It does. It just moves very slowly. And so, but eventually it gains mass, right? If it's moving, it's going to be gaining mass. So it's going to be gradually like a snowball effect, kind of like getting bigger and bigger until it evolves to where
until that consciousness within it evolves to having a body. Okay. So there's these round rocks, and I know they're in more than one place, but one place is on the coast of California. And they're these huge round stones, and I would say they're probably like 5 feet in diameter.
Okay.
But they're perfectly round. And if you tune into them, they're evolving. That's why they're round. Yeah. So they've created that. Their consciousness has created that. Crystals are a being. Like maybe that's not the best one to show, but they're a being. They have energy. If you squeeze a crystal, if you squeeze a crystal, it emits energy.
Right.
And they also hold memories. Yeah.
So it's almost like, even though it feels like you're squeezing something solid, it's not exactly quite solid. Nothing really is solid, really.
No. Mm-mm. Yeah. Nothing's exactly solid. So like if you think of us, so there is this great picture, which I didn't save it, but there's basically a fence, and these two people are sitting on the pier. So they're sitting on the pier and the sun is behind them, and they're looking at their shadow. And their shadow is lighter than the shadow of the, bars of the fence, because they contain more light. So think of it that way.
Yes, that is very interesting.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I've done this little experiment when I'm like laying in bed at night when it's slightly light in the room. It's not pitch black. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'll be looking at the ceiling, and I've done this since I was a kid, and I'll pick an object that is in the light a little bit, and I'll stare at it until it disappears. And I never understood why it disappeared, but then I'm like, over the last couple of years, it dawned on me, it's because we are light, and our focus, our eyes, our focused attention is actually a stream of light. So when we're looking at something that has less light on it than the light that we're emitting from our eyes, the light from our eyes will be brighter and will make it look like it's not there. So I just thought that was really cool. It took me so long to figure that out.
Yeah. And I mean, light is basically filled with information.
Yes.
Filled with it.
Because light actually carries color. I didn't know that until a few years ago. Color doesn't exist without light. The light carries the color codes, and then it deposits the color onto whatever object it is, a book, a rock, a tree. There's no color actually in the tree. It's in the light. So when the light reflects off the tree, So very, very, it's complex, but it's part of a bigger picture of understanding how frequency works and how densities and all of that.
Right. Yeah. And frequency is color, sound, or light.
Yes. Yeah. Color, sound, and light. I know we're right at the end here, but I wanted to mention one more thing.
Sure.
I think it would be I just think it's really important for people to understand that so with all the mental health conditions and diagnoses, autism, ADHD, all these things, the new term is neurodivergent, right? We're all neurodivergent. Our brains work differently. I think it's just so important for people to know that typically, if you have these symptoms, it's because you're a higher dimensional being attempting to lower yourself down into a 3D body.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of times your body may have been interfered with by, one of these, or like a lot of people that are little, a lot of children, they end up with an injury from all those shots.
Yeah. Oh, shots. You're talking about the shots you have to get to prevent yourself from getting sick when you're a kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of pollution, heavy metal too, will cause it. But it all comes down to the fact that you have this higher frequency being inside of a human body, and they're like, what is this place?
Right. I just want people to know that, because that should give you hope, like, oh, wow, I'm experiencing these symptoms because I actually am more evolved, and I can, so it helps, I think, people see outside of it, see outside of your pain, see outside of your, you know what I'm saying? And to see like, oh, wow, this is actually because of there's a good reason why this is happening.
Right. There's a good reason. And also there's a lot of things you can do for yourself that will help you feel better and better. Like magnesium, take the right kind of magnesium and you're going to feel better. You're going to be happier. And almost 90% of the population doesn't have enough.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with potassium and magnesium, both. I learned about that in one of my nutrition classes. Yeah.
Yeah. And minerals. We don't have enough minerals.
Yep.
And we have too many metals.
Right.
So, just detoxing your system is going to help your mental health.
Absolutely.
A lot. Yeah.
One really good way to get all your minerals is from a mineral sea salt. So not the Himalayan pink salt, not that, but like I get the Celtic sea salt. That's the one I use, and it has all the minerals that you need in your body. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. I take burdock root every day. It also has the same thing. It's just you're taking a little more, like you're increasing, and that's a really good blood cleanser. So it's helping you detox at the same time.
What about sea moss? That's the second time I've heard about sea moss.
It's great as well. It's great as well. Yeah. It doesn't have all the minerals, but it almost has all. I mean, it's close. I want to say it's 92. And I think burdock root is like 102 or something.
Okay. Cool. This has been so great. This has been so great.
Yeah,
I'm just so
fun.
grateful for you coming on here. And I feel like we're probably going to have to do it again.
Yeah.
You know, because things are changing pretty quick. So
They are changing, and people need to know what's going on and to not feel like all is lost. Like, actually, what we're doing is we're moving from one house to another house. So before you do anything, you have to go through all your crap, throw it all over the place, make a huge mess, and then you gather what, you're going to take with you, and you take that and you create a new happy home for yourself. That's what we're doing right now.
Right. That's a great analogy.
Yes.
I love it. And, it's funny because that's being organized and cleaning things out is one of my favorite hobbies.
That's good. I wish it was mine. It's not mine.
No, it is mine. I don't know why, but ever since I was a kid, that was like okay, I'm frustrated. Let me just clean. Let me just organize some shit.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I'm like,
everyone.
oh,
Oh God.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for being in the chat. This was a great chat. I know I didn't get to everyone's questions. So if you have more questions, honestly, go check out Honey's YouTube, because a lot of the questions people were asking in the chat, if I skipped it, it's because it's something that she talks about in her YouTube videos, and you just have to go over there and just check it out.
Yeah, and the hidden history is like a playlist. So if you care about the history part of it, just go to the playlist. But I talk about everything.
Yeah, the hidden history. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, any parting thoughts?
Thank you. Not really. Just take care of yourself. That's the main thing. There is a lot of weird energy going on right now. Like, I had to banish a demon yesterday. So there's like, it was attacking someone, and they called me on the phone like in panic. And I'm like, okay, let's get rid of this demon.
Wow.
But yeah, it was intense, and I was very tired after. But the thing is you want to keep yourself protected with good energy while we're going through this process. So there's like a month of weirdness that we're just entering. And I think it's because a lot of frequencies have been blasting at the planet. So I basically have been telling people, bubble up. So I create bubbles of energy. Yeah. So, and the best one to do at night is to do a silver bubble. And it reflects whatever is coming at you will be reflected, and it can't get in. Cool. So just imagine a silver bubble around your house, basically.
Yes, I love that. That's so great. Yep. Bubbles. Bubble up. I like that. Bubble up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. This is great. I'm going to upload this live replay to YouTube, you guys. So if you missed part of it, don't worry.
Yeah. All Brilliant. Right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.